Welcome to the Honor It All podcast. I'm Honor Garrett, your host, and we are here to honor all that is good in the world. Each podcast, I highlight top professionals around the globe who are making a difference, impacting lives, and creating positive change. Today, we have Carol Watson. She's RN, a DN, and a health and body confidence coach, and goes by, to most people, Dr. Carol. She empowers women who are done with diets and are ready to let go of the struggle, shame, and guilt that consumes them, while actually shedding some unwanted pounds. Her clients learn to love themselves into a body they can be proud of, regardless of the number on the scale. I met Dr. Carol while getting certified through the Health Coach Institute, and even though she can share dozens of transformational stories about her own clients, she has an incredible story of her own. I'm so honored to have you here today to meet Dr. Carol as part of the Honor It All podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Honor. I am doing better than I deserve, as Dave Ramsey says. I am so grateful to be alive, to be here to inspire some people, and to also honor you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I love seeing you on social media because you're one of the most positive people that I have been around, and I see how you give back to people all the time. I know personal friends who have benefited from your generous heart. So I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to have you here. And I want to just dive in because I'm excited to hear about your story. I want our audience to know you were a critical care nurse for, I think, 20 years. Why did you leave such a, obviously a great career to become a health coach?
Great question. So yeah, I was a critical care nurse for almost just under 20 years. And although I was really good at what I did, in looking back, hindsight, it was all about treatment versus prevention. And I had what I call my light bulb moment back in actually 1995. So I'm going to show my age. 1995, I discovered for the first time as a nurse the relationship between nutrition and disease, because in nursing, we weren't really taught at that time anything about prevention, really very little about nutrition and the power of food at the cellular level in our body. And I read a book that just how come nobody told me all this? And so it caused this paradigm shift, like a huge shift from treatment to prevention. And that's when I actually went back to school and got my doctorate as a naturopathic doctor. And because I'm an overachiever, I had to get a double doctorate. So I'm also a counselor of natural health. So that's really what caused that shift for that. And then as a naturopathic doctor, I got a little frustrated because I give my advice, if you will, my recommendations, and people weren't doing it. And I'm like, seriously, you just paid me all that money and you're not going to do what I'm recommending? And that's where the coaching aspect came in. It's like I discovered it's more about habit change versus just telling people what to do, and how we can change based on our identity, our beliefs about ourselves, habits we formed. And HCI in my coaching program, as you well know, really gave me the tools and a lot of the mindset too around helping empower women, especially who struggled with obesity, like I have myself, like you mentioned, to give up those unwanted pounds in a way that would really serve them better through mindset shifts.
Wow. Well, we both know, especially through HCI for me, is I was excited to be a health coach. And then I realized, it's so much more than food. It's all around your mindset and those limiting beliefs and how you change habits. So I told people, even if I never coach, this will be life changing and transformational for me. So, but I have a question for you, because like you were mentioning that you didn't learn that much about nutrition when you were becoming a nurse. And I've heard several doctors say that as well. We didn't learn it back then. Maybe they're doing it now, but I will tell you that every nurse, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but when I take my kids to the doctor or when I went to the doctor, I would say a large percent of all the nurses that would help us were overweight or, and like they just weren't taking care of themselves. So was there a level of burnout as well, did you feel? Because I know that you have a story of your own, which I'd love for you to share, of your weight loss journey, and where did that start, and then how did you get prompted to make a change?
Yeah, for sure. So, to answer the question about nurses and obesity, um, I guess in the spirit of transparency, let's just get real here, right? Most, not all again, but many of us who go into the profession of helping others generally have some kind of lack of self-worth or self-esteem or self-image of ourselves, because it's easier to focus on other people than it is what's really going on inside. So number one, food was a barrier. It was a protection to keep people from getting too close because I didn't want to get hurt. And there's a whole nother story there. But also, I spent my whole life from childhood on. You could probably ask most gals or guys that end up in nursing, they're people who like helping people. That's why we go into nursing, right? So our focus is all about other people and again at my own cost. I carried the code beeper, which is like if you ever watch TV and the red lights start flashing and they say go get the crash cart, and in comes the crash cart and they zap the people, right? I was the nurse who was calling out the orders for what to do in that scenario because I was in a very large teaching hospital. So I was keeping other people alive with drugs and surgery, and I weighed over 400 pounds. And I was the first responder to save your life. Now, talk about the irony there. Right? So I was
Wow.
like, yeah. So I was making it all about other people, and so the a lot of life happened, but the biggest shift, to summarize it as short as possible, is 2014 is when I had another light bulb moment, my aha moment. I called it my come to Jesus, if you will. It was my moment of surrender. So again, a double doctorate, 20 years of critical care nursing, helping other people, by the way, with nutrition, a naturopathic doctor at this point, and I still was well over 300 pounds at that point in time. I had made a lot of lifestyle changes. I did some exercising, but 2014 was when I had my moment where I just surrendered to God. It was all about surrender and admitting that I'm a food addict. Number one, admission of it. Just like in AA, you got to admit you got a problem. Um, Obvious to everybody else, but I was trying to hide and eat in secret. Number one. Number two was just really surrendering it to God and admit that I'm powerless over food. And God, I can't do this. I'm helping other people intellectually, educationally. I know what to do, but I can't seem to do it for myself. And the answer that I got when I surrendered and repented, because I wanted to turn away from the food addiction, the spirit of gluttony, the answer I got from God was, let me teach you, Carol, how to love yourself the way I love you. Mm. And that's where my journey began, with asking God, show me how to love me unconditionally, with all my flaws, with all my hanging flesh, with all the mistakes, all the failures, everything from the past. Help me embrace this amazing, unique creation that you created in your image, and help me to be a better steward of this temple you've given me stewardship over.
That's beautiful. It reminds me, in church this weekend, we were talking about the prodigal son and how when the young son went away and squandered all the money, he comes back, and you would think that just like we think sometimes we're not worthy of God, that father ran to his son and was so happy to have him back. And I think that that's how God sees us. He's like, I don't care, just come to me. So excited to having you back. So
Right.
That must have been some journey. How, do you mind me asking how long it took you to basically feel, number one, that you were completely loved by God and you loved yourself, and then two, to actually get your body to the weight that you wanted?
Probably a couple years, I would guess. Again, just going through various phases and whatnot. So that was how many years ago? I'm not good with math. 8 years ago, I guess. I've been pretty well stable with my weight for probably the last 3+ years or so. So the weight has been, and it's not hard anymore. I mean, I'm still a food addict. I still do have to watch it, but it's like something just seriously spiritually, emotionally, physically like transformed in me. And when it really came down to it, when you take care of things or people that you love, right? Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
When you love other people, we're always taking care of them. So this idea of learning how to love me and putting myself at the top of my priority list. So self-care became very important, whereas before it was it sounded selfish, right? Because even from a young child, as a Christian child, I was taught to always put others first. And so many of us are, and it was all about other people. And so self-care just sounded so selfish. I mean, even now, several years later, sometimes when I think about that, it's like, and so again, a shift in mindset. Here we come with the mindset piece. For me, it was a switch in perspective, a better me to serve you. So as long as in my mind, I keep bettering myself so that I can help other people, it's a win-win, because by nature, I just believe God wired me with this, like, such a strong, passionate desire to whatever I do. I always want to turn around and help other people with whatever I've been through. Did that answer the question?
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm telling you, as a mom, you probably do really well working with moms because we're just wired to take care of everybody else. And it was a real struggle for me, even still sometimes today. But I preach on this and I tell people, you have to fill your cup. God wanted you to be the best you can be so you could help everyone else. And if you're half empty, you're doing a half-assed job helping everybody else. And so I wish the whole world could understand what the difference between being taking self-care on and being intentional and serious about it, but also it's not the same as being selfish. And so
Yeah, it came down to honor really the place that I have such a schedule, because generally we do live by schedules in some way, whether it's something that's serving us or not. Most of us live by a schedule of some sort. And for me, my number one priority is my quiet time in the morning, then my morning walk, and then my smoothie, and then my shower, and then I'm ready for the day. Now, am I 100% absolutely always that way? No, but the majority of the time, absolutely. So and with that quiet time comes prayer and journaling and just talking to God, allowing Him to speak to me. And then I get my physical activity in. So I've taken care of spiritual and emotional. I'm doing my walk, getting physical, and also mindset pieces, because I listen to podcasts like yours while I'm walking. Thank you for your amazing podcast. And then also the nutritional piece, by starting off with something really healthy and plant-based and something that's going to fuel my brain and give me energy versus just make me feel exhausted and not motivated to get going for the day.
well, it's, I talk a lot about meditation, and I even felt awkward with that term because I always think, okay, well, I should be praying and and I finally learned and realized, first of all, meditation, Jesus meditates all throughout the Bible. I realized that for me, prayer is asking God, and then meditation is being still and listening and receiving what he has to say. And when I could wrap my head around that, meditation makes so much more sense to me now than it
Mm-hmm.
did before. But really, just isn't it incredible when you're still and quiet, the things that come to you from God, just ideas and creative things
Absolutely.
and way to serve
Yeah.
people. It's
And one thing to kind of go along with that too, Honor, for your listeners that might help, because a lot of people are like, I have a really hard time getting to that place. Something that really helps me is just a few deep breaths, because, we're literally changing our physiology by just taking, like, literally, if you just, there's something about, and it's not just psychologically, it is physiologically. Don't have time to go into all the science, but when you take a nice deep breath in, closing your eyes, and I envision breathing in the life force of God, Holy Spirit. And as I exhale, I just see all the negativity, all the bad thoughts, all the fears of the day, whatever's going on, just melting down through my feet and into the floor.
just
And I
watching,
take about 5 breaths like that, and you just sit quietly, and it's like, okay, I'm ready. It's like
washing
you.
it all away. That's a great idea. So definitely, I'm going to do that. So you were a successful nurse, then a naturopath, and you have a coaching career. You have actually built several businesses. You are a very successful entrepreneur. So I'm sure I have some listeners out there that want to grow a business and they're struggling and they don't know what to do. Do you have any advice? And would you like to talk about your journey with starting new companies?
Sure, thanks. First of all, it's a journey, just like you said. It's a journey, right? This did not happen overnight. If y'all would have known me when I was 21 years old, you would be like, seriously, that's Carol Watson? Because I was the very shy, very quiet, very insecure, morbidly obese gal who sat in the back of the room and didn't want to be noticed. I've
Uh,
come a long way, baby.
yes, you have.
Because now I'm on stages in front of thousands of people and I love it. I love it. And the answer, if you will, would be to invest in you. You are worth it. I paid a lot of dollars. I spent a lot of time. I've worked with counselors, I've worked with coaches, I've taken courses, I've read books. And with everyone, I just keep getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And I try a little something new and try a little something new. And do we fail and fall? Absolutely. One of my other mindsets is, in fact, the word failure isn't even in my vocabulary, Honor. I literally there's no such thing, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a failure. It's all a part of our journey. And if we embrace the mindset that is everything is as it should be,
Yes.
like the fact that I started kindergarten at 6X, that I tried out for cheerleading and was made fun of because my legs were too fat, that I tried out for sorority in college and nobody wanted me. I failed my nursing boards 4 times. I didn't have a date until I was 31 years old, got married and divorced within a year, that sent me 9 weeks in a charter hospital. All of these things that happen, they're not failures. If I had to go through all of them over again to get to where I am at 63 years old, fulfilling the ministry and the purposes that God has for my life, I would go through them all again, because I know that I'm helping other people along the way. So I embrace that 400-pound version of Carol. She needed to go through that in order to get to where she is today, right?
Yeah.
I don't shame her. I don't poke fun at her. I don't wish things would have been different. I don't live in regret. I live with anticipation of what God has next in my life. Because every day We are being prepared for the next day, the next year, the next 5 years, the next person, the next event, the next degree, the next child, whatever that is. It's all if we could just see through God's eyes, right? It would probably overwhelm us. So I'll take a pause there. I'm kind of going on and on, but did that answer the question?
Well, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I love the fact so many people carry around resentment for things that happen to them, and they use them as excuses. I could have done this if this hadn't happened, or I could have been this if I had had money, or I could have. And the sheer fact that you can take, it was okay that I was 400 pounds, because if you hadn't gone through that, think of all the overweight, obese women that you have been just a champion for and have totally changed their lives. You could not have done that as a skinny girl.
Right. You're right.
You couldn't have made that impact. So it's so beautiful to know that, yes, everything is happening for a reason. And the fail, I love that you don't even have it in your vocabulary. I always say fail is a faithful attempt and learning. FAIL, faithful attempt and learning. So,
Like that.
You're just learning to try something and to try again. So that's beautiful. So tell me what you're doing now. I know you are with a new company, or you've started a new business venture. And I think it helps with a lot of things. So tell me a little bit about it. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. Sure, I would love to. Let me back up though, and also make a recommendation. When we were talking about, growing it, especially as a faith-based woman in business. I read a book called The Prayer Powered Entrepreneur, and I actually went through a course to be a facilitator for prayer powered masterminds. And I would encourage any faith-based woman who's wanting to grow professionally as an entrepreneur or in your business of any sort. I have been walking with Jesus since I was a junior in college. And I thought that God was the CEO of my business. We like to say he's the CEO, but what does that really look like? If you think about it, I wouldn't be worried about anything. Because, the analogy that I use is, and I feel like somebody needs to hear this, so I'm just going to chase a little bunny trail here.
Absolutely.
Is think about a CEO or even the director of nurses of a hospital. If there's a nursing shortage or a staffing crisis or a medical something that happens, I'm a critical care bedside nurse. Do I go to bed at night and worry about those things? No, because I'm not the CEO of the hospital. So with God being my CEO, I don't need to worry about my coaching business. I don't need to worry about my direct sales business. I take everything to him in prayer. God is concerned about every little detail of our lives and our business. So I learned how to invite God into every aspect of my business. Do you know how much freedom that gave me to take that burden off? That's what it means for God to be the CEO of your business. So I just wanted to put that in there. So for what I'm doing now, I went from another 20 years in a direct sales company where I reached the top position in a nutrition and wellness company, right in alignment with who I am and who I believe God called me to be. And last fall, I felt like it was that God was closing that door and he was opening a new door. So now I'm with a company actually called Modere, and they're a clean living company, which is, again, in alignment with who I am and how I want to empower women to live healthy, to create income, because it is a direct sales business as well. But their flagship product is the collagen, which I don't look 63, right?
You do not. I mean, Lord, you have such beautiful skin.
So I get, and the other thing is, I could go on about collagen, but I won't. But the reason why I became so passionate about this company is because I started taking the product, just like what happens with a lot of people. You find something you love, it's just natural for me to start sharing it. And so that's been since October, and God has very quickly advanced me through the ranks within that company as well. And besides the collagen, now I have a whole arsenal of nutritionals that I can support with digestion, with focus, with energy, with sleep, with skin, hair, joints. I mean, all sorts of aspects of health. And many people are now purchasing non-toxic, biodegradable, green living personal and home care products. So I've got everything from shampoo to laundry detergent, toothpaste, and everything in between. So I am having a blast with its social marketing. So I'm a social marketer, and I do it all online with my online presence, and I'm just loving it. God's blessing it.
Well, one thing that I know some people love direct sales and some people shy away from it. But what I think, number one, I believe in the model 100% because it's almost you can't be successful unless you help other people be successful. And to me, I love that whole model because it's about helping other people. And God will bless you, right? He's the CEO and he'll bless you. And I might be the one that needed to hear that. Maybe everybody else too. So, but I will say that today they've made it so easy. So for people who didn't like to have parties or didn't want to have to do all this cold calling or bother their friends, now there's so many things that you can do with the apps and the social media that you can have a completely online business and not be bothering the family that it's
right.
And then
and tell me, and also, Honor, with the way things are right now, what a blessing to be able to so I was coaching from home, and I've got my direct sales business from home. So I didn't have to go through what a lot of people do, going to a job or the doors closing because of what's happened in the world. So what a blessing to be able to still fulfill my ministry, working from home. And I also want to address this whole sales thing, because again, I was a bedside nurse who knew nothing about sales. However,
yes,
I am the kind of gal who, when I find something good, I like to share it. I mean, how many of you have ever shared a restaurant or a book or a shop that you found something of value, you've enjoyed the benefits of, and you're going to tell your friends about? That's kind of what I do in direct sales. And again, the mindset piece is, instead of my mindset being, um, I need you to buy from me. My mindset is, you may need me. Like, there are people right now, women especially, praying for a way to be able to create income from home, praying for a way to help other people because maybe they're getting ready to be empty nesters. That's another thing. So many women, they pour their whole lives into their children, and now the kids are gone. What's next? Or moms who, yes, it's fulfilling to be a mom, and there's something inside of them like beyond that. I don't know if it'd be appropriate or not, but I actually have this. It would take like 2 minutes. I just did a Facebook Live, and I shared this very thing. And I have a little poem I would love to share. Can I do that?
absolutely. I would love to hear the poem. This is great. Guys, I mean, if you're even thinking about a business, no, I mean, you can see how genuine Dr. Carol is. I mean, I wouldn't know why you wouldn't want to be on her team. And because you can tell that she really cares about other people. But I would love to hear the poem. Let's hear it.
I know we're probably getting close to finish up, but I just think that I wasn't even planning on sharing it, but talking about, it's called actually Maybe She Needs Me. Okay. So it had been a long day. I was finishing a task, and as I hurried past her, a little voice said, "Just ask." Oh, not today, I told myself. I'm tired and it shows. Besides, I might look foolish, and she'd likely just say no. While drifting off to sleep that night, I saw her face again. I wondered what her life was like, her needs, her dreams, her pain. What if she'd been wishing for a friendly word and smile, a chance to know someone who would go the extra mile? What if she'd been waiting for a break, an open door? Was this the opportunity that she'd been praying for? So what if I offer her and it's not her cup of tea? That's a choice for her to make. How selfish can I be? When all my dreams are realized, I don't want to regret the lives I wouldn't touch and change, the no's I didn't get. So let me live as a true go giver and let my mission be not to think, do I need her, but maybe she needs me.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Did you write that?
I don't know who the author
You
is.
don't know who his author is?
No, I don't.
It's
I just
beautiful.
happened upon it this morning.
I read the Go Giver book,
Yes,
and it's one of my favorite books. It's what life's about. Instead of
absolutely.
that seeking and self-striving, trying so hard, and when we learn to surrender to God,
Right.
it's amazing.
That's my first waking thought is, God, how can I be of service today? How can I help other people?
That's
He always provides my needs. I'm always taken care of. Yes, I need income to live, and obviously finances are important, but at the end of the day, my emotional revenue is more important to me than my fiscal revenue. And that's what feeds me, is knowing I'm helping other women feel good, look good, break through their walls to live free and fulfilled as a coach, all of those things.
well, that was such a great poem. So I have two questions left, and
Okay.
before we wrap up, sometimes we learn from our biggest failures, and I know you don't use the word failure. So, what has been your hardest but most gratifying lesson in life?
My hardest and most gratifying lesson. I've been through some pretty hard things, but even as rough as that divorce was, that tossed me in the hospital, charter hospital for 9 weeks, which was an amazing, hard experience, but amazing. I would say probably because it's happened to me 3 or 4 times throughout my adult life, and that is dealing with slander and rumors about me or my character.
Mm.
It's hard when other people say things about you that aren't true, or misconstrue your words, or misunderstand when your intention is not what they received.
Right.
And that's hard. And how do you deal with that? And Honor, with God as my witness, and my husband, if he were here as well, God somehow gave me, I believe it's a supernatural gift to be able to be quick to forgive and to not hold resentments. I choose always, most of the time, but a strong most of the time, to choose the high road and not to give it back, because but for the grace of God, there go I. And I always think of that scripture, and I don't know where it is, but there is a scripture about, if you judge other people, somehow you're going to get judged with that same judgment, and it like can turn against you, kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not the judge. God is the judge. I'm not the judge. I've my heart prayer for many years of my adult life is, God, help me to be a woman who walks in grace and not judgment. Err on the side of grace rather than judgment. And I think that comes from maybe feeling like I've been judged so much in my life. So
That's good. And the whole judgment thing, if we can just learn to let go of judgment, and the way I do it, because we're human, we can't help, sometimes we see something and that thought goes in our heads, and I try to instantly get curious. Like we
yes,
said, I wonder why they acted that way. I wonder why. I wonder if something's happening in their home life where they're unhappy, and that's why they chose. And so when you can do that and you realize it's not about you,
Right.
when somebody does that, it's about them and some issues, at least, especially if you know that you're going to God. So,
Right. Yeah. And if you believe, like I do, that pretty much everything in life is either coming from fear or love. So at the end of the day, what it all boils down to is fear, that a person in that position of judging or slandering or putting down or creating rumors, whatever it is, there's something in them is fearful, and they're doing whatever they can to protect and to make themselves feel okay about where they are. And I think maybe because I am in the limelight a little bit, obviously I'm an easier target. But I just, again, just choose to err on that side of grace and trust everybody is doing the best they can based, the four agreements. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but I truly believe that based on where they are, their life circumstances, what they've been through, everybody is doing the best they can. And in the end, judgment belongs to the Lord, and I will be judged based on how I reacted or responded, not on their deeds.
absolutely, not how someone else treated you. So,
Yeah.
great advice, great words of wisdom to live by. And I want to end like I end all my podcasts. This is the Honor It All podcast. So, what are you choosing to honor today?
Um, well, before I answer it, I do just want to say I do honor you. And I love that name, by the way. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but it's just such a special name. And just this podcast that you've put together to be a blessing and a light in the world. Thank you for allowing me to be one of your guests. I truly, at the risk of sounding like kind of overusing the word honor, I am honored to be a part of your podcast. So thank you for that. And I think what I'd like to honor today, based on our conversation, that somebody else I think needs to hear too, maybe somebody's, and that is, at the risk of sounding selfish, this is going to sound really selfish to some people, I'm honoring me. I am honoring the journey that I am on and the shoes that I have walked in and the struggles and the triumphs, every heartache, every heartbreak, every success. I am honoring all of it. And I want to thank God that He chose me to walk this path so that I can be used as a vessel to bring encouragement and light and hope. I totally believe that I am a vessel of hope to men and women, but especially women who struggle with a lot of the things that I've shared here today. I pray that I've been a light for them. And I honor the journey that I have been on to bring that source of hope to others.
Well, thank you. I will say the words that you have just spoken, I think not only speak for you, and we do not think that's selfish. It is one of the most selfless things you can do because you're honoring who God made you to be. And that way you can bless others. So if anyone else is struggling with that today, I hope that each one of you out there will take time and honor yourself and get self-care and surrender to God. So what a wonderful podcast. I cannot wait for everyone well, actually, if you're here, you've already listened to it. How are we going to get in touch with you? I want everyone to know, number one, all of Dr. Carol's information, I will put it below the podcast in YouTube, and then any other place that you listen to your podcast, her information will be there. You can reach out to her. But is there anything specific, Dr. Carol, that's a better way to get in touch with you?
Two things come to mind. First of all, follow me on social media, Instagram or Facebook. I am Dr. Carol Watson, Dr. Carol Watson, Carol Nelson Watson. And then the other thing is my website, and I'm sure you'll post it below, but the main way to get me would be my website is TC Dr. Carol, Transformational Coaching with Dr. Carol is the name of my business. So it's tcdrcarol.com. and then / clean living coach.
Okay, great.
That's where all my little links are to hook up with me through social media, through my Modera products, through my coaching business, always.
All right, you can find it all in one place, guys. So I will
Thank
post
you.
it below. And Dr. Carol, thank you so much for being on the show today. It is one of my favorite ones. I just really loved connecting with you. And until next time, guys, we'll see you, and you all, God bless.
Thank you.